Good morning. Let me see, you're starting to log in. Welcome to Venice. Can you hear me very well? Ciao Leanne, directly from Canada. Okay. I'm just gonna wait a few seconds, a few minutes that all the viewers they're gonna come, and then we can start. Wow, you are all on time. Ciao from Monaco. So we have a wonderful sunny day. In the meantime, we wait the others. I'm gonna present myself. My name is Luca. I'm a real Venetian, 100% Venetian blood, raised and born here in Venice. And actually we are on the Grand Canal in a wonderful sunny afternoon. Today I would like to give you a kind of introduction of my unique Venice. We're gonna talk about its symbol, its uniqueness, and then at the end I will even explain you very well how the high tide of Venice works. Can you hear me very well, please? Say yes, so I can see your comments. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. Perfect. So we are actually 49. I'm gonna start just telling that now under this crazy period, COVID-19, I'm here in a private terrace on the Grand Canal, thanks to Hotel Canal Grande. And I'm alone, I have the keys, so I need to say thank you to Mr. Ivano Boscolobiello, the owner of the hotel. First of all, he gave me the keys of the hotel, so quite good. And secondly, I just give you very quickly the plan. I'm gonna introduce you Venice, and then at the end will be the last part talking about the high tide, the last high tide we had in November, so you can have a clear idea of how it was and how it's the high tide, how Venetians live the high tide here in Venice. And the last 10 minutes they're gonna be for the questions, so the Q&A part. I will try, even if something is not clear, I will try to see your comments, but anyway you can send me all the questions at the end. A second and I will come. Okay, because pigeons are starting to come, they see a man on a terrace, so they think there is food. Well, let's start. We are here. You all hear me? Can you hear me right? Very well. So a second. Thank you. On the other side, they are doing a renovation of a terrace, so I asked them a quiet moment here in my unique Venice. We are 57, so I think I can start. So have a look. We are here on the Grand Canal of Venice, where the Grand Canal starts, and the Grand Canal is like the artery of the city. It's the main street. But we can't really talk about streets in Venice, because the translation of streets here are canals. So have a look. I start to give you the introduction from here. A second, because I think they... Just a second. They are still... Scusa! Basta, grazie! Okay. So I told you, the Grand Canal is the main artery of Venice. And here officially starts the Grand Canal. In front of you, you can see the train station and Scalzi Bridge. Scalzi Bridge actually it's a kind of modern bridge because it was built in 1936. But now I really would like to take you back in the past. I would like to tell you how was this part. Now I even see the staff of Travel Curious here. So first of all, before starting my tour, I need to say thank you to Travel Curious Tours. They gave me this opportunity to transmit all the passion I have for Venice. Thank you so much. You need to follow the hashtag Stay Curious, even to see other lives about other guides, so you can really explore virtually other cities all over the world. Let me show you how was this part in the past. In the meantime, in Venice, as you see, water buses are still going, and this situation is quite good because compared to the rest of Italy, Veneto region is starting to decrease the cases of COVID-19, and thanks even to our great president of the region, Mr. Luca, he's doing a great job because he's trying to keep alive our souls. He's trying to even analyze any context for the future recovering of the city for step number 2. So thank you, Mr. Zaya. Let's continue the tour. Now you see on the higher part, you see how is Venice now and how it was in the past in the middle. So you can see it's full of gondolas, full of boats crossing the canal. This one was the main service of a gondola. Venice was just a group of islands, a group of 118 natural islands collected by 417 bridges and surrounded by 176 canals. And in the past they were even more. People were just moving by boat. Was the only way, using a sandalo, a puparin, using a batea or even a gondola. The gondola where they started around the year 1000, more or less. But now have a look this painting. Because here you see the main service of the gondola, the first one, that was the famous traghetto, before bridges. Of course, we started making the bridges, the small ones in wood, in the small canals, but the Grand Canal was a problem. That's why here in us, you have to imagine the city before this bridge, before the water bus stops, even before gondolas. You only have to imagine normal wooden boats on the right side, waiting merchants arriving in Venice just to take them from a side to the other one of the city. This one was the first service of a boat, of Venetians living in the city, doing the famous traghetto. And now we do the traghetto with our gondolas, like you can see here in this picture. You see, it's not the gondola for the normal ride, this one, but you see 15 people standing. This is a service we do nearby Rialto, especially for grandmas that live in Canal district. Instead of crossing Rialto Bridge, doing all the steps, they just take the gondola with only 70 cents, 80 cents for Venetians and 2 euros for tourists, and you can cross the Grand Canal. This service is still active in about 6-7 points of the city. But then, in the 1400s, gondolas, they started to change a little bit. The squararioli, the artisans specialized in making the gondolas, they added a small cover part in the middle, named felze. And which one was the use of felze? Well, 2 uses. The first one was to, let's say, protect clients from the rain. And the second one, the most important one, was for privacy. Venice was, and is still now, the gossip city. Here, since the beginning, my grandfather told me, Luca, you know, the main sport of women in Venice is gossip. You can't have true relationship here, he told me, the first rule. Because in less than a week, they catch you. All the city will know it. Even now, when I just walk around, I go out from my house where I live, here behind this hotel, and I can't walk more than 5 minutes without anyone stopping me and say, Ciao Luca, come sta la nonna? E Alvisa e a Londra, come va? How Luca, how is your grandma? How is your brother in London? How is doing? But this is Venice, and I think this is a privilege of Venetians, because anywhere we go around the city we feel at home. That's why we live in Venice, because we can stay here and we are truly in love with our city. It's unique. Then, let's start even talking about, I introduced you Santa Croce. That's a district. You see, it's a district on the left of this image, where you see the train station. In front of the train station is the smallest district of Venice, but then Venice is composed by 6 different areas, 6 districts. We have on the southern part of the Grand Canal that divides the city with an S. We have Santa Croce, San Polo and Dorsoduro. And on the top part we have Cannaregio. Then in the central part, San Marco, of course the most famous district because of the Basilica, because of the Doge's Palace, the square. And on the right side we have Castello district. actually one of the most authentic districts of the city. Can you all hear me very well? Please write just a yes, and I can continue. Okay, I saw a yes, very well. So now I would like to show you, we're gonna start understanding Venice from this picture. Because, you see, this is the iron, the decoration on top of a gondola, the actual gondola. And you see 6 parts going to the left. These are the 6 districts of Venice, as I told you: San Marco, San Polo, Santa Croce, Castello, Dorsoduro, and Cannaregio. And then there is just one part going to the right side, and you see it's written La Giudecca Island. La Giudecca Island, it's an island located on the southern part of Venice. And the island in the past was populated by the Jewish community. Then the Jewish community in the 1516 moved to the Jewish quarter of Venice, the famous Ghetto. That's the oldest Jewish quarter of Europe, dating back in 1516. So why Venetians we moved the Jewish community in a kind of city center? Because Venetians, of course, we were merchants, and Venice was and is still now a trade center. But for Catholic people like us, working in touch with money was not very well seen. For them was the main job. They were owner of banks, they were bankers. So we started to loan and borrow money. And in the Jewish quarter, even the name Ghetto, because I know it happens very often, clients from United States, when I say we're gonna enter inside the ghetto, they are a bit scared. Because I know it has a different meaning, like an unsafe place. No, it comes from here, it comes from Venice. Because this island, where then moved the Jewish community, in the past was known as the Ghetto. What does it mean, Ghetto? Means foundry. Here in this area of Venice, there were the main foundries of the city. That's why we named it Ghetto. And then the Jewish Ghetto. I would like to show you right now some images of the ghetto. This is amazing because you can see the reflection. But have a look at this building. Buildings here are so high, there are so many floors. Like 7, 8 floors is something unusual. In Venice, usually buildings, they have about 3, 4 floors, the noble floors, the one we call. But they were such a big community, about 4,000 people living in a very small part of the city. So they had to stay all over here. Another image, another story I would like to tell you about the Jewish quarter, and then we pass to another topic, is Banco Rosso. This little door in a covered street nearby the buildings I showed you before. Banco Rosso, it means red bank. Why red bank? This term is used all over the world. When we say we are in red, it means we have a debit with someone. So Venetians, they were visiting Banco Rosso when they needed a credit from the Jewish community, and they were giving them a kind of guarantee, a kind of pledge. So it could be a palace, it could be a galley, it could be a ship, could be a golden object, anything. So it was a kind of promise that in the future they were able to give them back the money, of course with interest. And in the past, the accounting was just with the paper and a pen, and they had 2 inks. The black one to say you were making a profit, and the red one to say you had a debit. So at the end, they were marking, when they gave you the credit, they were marking the paper with the red touch just to say you had a debit with them. And red, because red was the only color to catch your attention. That's why even now teachers, they correct the exams with a red pen. Of course, it's the only color that catch our attention. It comes from here. Now, let's continue with our fantastic iron. Because on your left, between the districts, you can see 3 different decorations. And the 3 decorations between the districts are the islands of Murano, Burano, and Torcello. Murano Island, of course, is the most famous island. It's the glass-blowing island. But the glass factory is let me show you, first of all, a picture about the glass blowing. The glass factories, they moved in Murano around the year 1292, because at the beginning they were in Venice, but Venice, most of the city in that period was built in wood. So we had so many fires, that's why they moved the art in another island, for two reasons. The first one, to preserve more the secret of the glass, and the second one, to preserve Venice from the fires. Anyway, there is a third secret about Murano glass, and I'm gonna explain you the third secret in the next video I'm gonna make in May. Well, I can anticipate you something today, because my surname is Fornazier. Fornazier comes from Fornasa. Fornasa is a furnace, as my family is a glass blowing family since a long time. So the man you see here in the picture is my uncle, Fabio Fornazier, one of the most famous glass blowers of Murano Island. I know there are new viewers coming, so ciao, I'm Luca, I'm introducing you my city, my Venice. Any question, please, at the end. I will be completely at your disposal, okay? I'm trying to do a small summary right now. So after Murano glass, we pass to the second decoration in the middle of the district, Burano, the little paradise of the lagoon, the colorful island. In Burano, men, they are fishermen. And fishermen, from their boat, even during foggy days, they had to recognize their house. That's why they started to paint the house with very brilliant colors, just to recognize it from the boat, just to see the way back home, even from the boat, even during foggy days. And then Burano is even famous for another art, let's say. The lace, Burano lace, the handmade Burano lace. All the women, in the meantime they were waiting fishermen, they started to do the lace. And Burano had even a lace school in the afternoon. All the Buranee, the women from Burano, they had to frequent the lace school. Unfortunately, the school closed in 1980. So the school then became the museum. And now we have a familia bone with this guy you see over here, Andrea, that's a friend of mine. They are trying with their workshop, La Perla, to keep alive this millenary tradition. As the youngest woman now still making the lace, the youngest, she is 70 years old, Mrs. Anna, 70 years old. So you, at 70, you can consider yourself young. Then, the third island I would like to just to give you an introduction is the most important one, is Torcello Island. Have a look, Torcello. Torcello actually has only 17 citizens, no more. But Torcello was the first Venice. When Venice was born, we go back in the year 421 after Christ, so long time ago. And there was a little population staying in the countryside of Italy, in the northeast. They arrived here in the lagoon, not because they wanted to conquist this part, but just because they were escaping from the barbarians. Barbarians were nomads moving all over, killing people and burning villages. So moving here, they saved their life. And the first populated island was Torcello in the 421. After this brief introduction of the islands, we go back to our iron, like always. So you see, the steel of the decoration starts from the bottom and does a shape of S up to the last district. This shape of S is the Grand Canal of Venice that ends with a little arch. The top part of the arch was the head of the Doge, the famous ducal horn. We're gonna talk about the Doge of Venice in the next live video that will be the beginning in the first days of May. We still don't know the date, but you need to get connected with Travel Curious Tours. And then, between the first district and the ducal horn, the ducal head, there is a small arch. The small arch is the famous and main Rialto Bridge, the first bridge built crossing the Grand Canal. Now I show you a fantastic picture of how Rialto was in the past. Have a look. You see, this is a fantastic painting. Rialto, the first bridge, was built around the year 1100, and as you can see, it was not a stone or marble bridge, but it was a wooden bridge, and a floatant one, as it had to open in the middle when ships or merchants were coming inside Venice. Now I'm gonna explain you something super important, the quarantine, because the quarantine was born here in Venice. Venice was affected by so many plagues. We had about 5 plagues in the 1300, in the 1400, in the 1500, in the 1600. So the Republic decided for merchants and galleys arriving in the city from other countries like Byzantium or Constantinople, like Jaffa, anywhere, before entering the city, they had to spend 40 days in another island of the lagoon, just to be sure they had not the epidemic, just to preserve Venice from the epidemic. This is the famous quarantine, the 40 days in another island of the lagoon before entering in Venice. Then, merchants arriving inside the city. In this palace I show you, on the left side of Rialto, Palazzo dei Camerlenghi, built in 1525, they had to register and pay taxes for all the stuff they were taking inside. But have a look at the ground floor windows. They are a bit strange. The ground floor windows were prisons. Prisons. Not for murderers or crime people like the ones at the Doge's palace, but prisons for merchants who didn't declare all the stuff they were taking inside. And these prisons were even considered the worst prisons of the world, because we're gonna even talk about the high tide after, but Rialto is one of the lowest part of Venice. So prisoners, they had water inside, and not only water, with the water even rats eating the legs of prisoners. So it was like a torture, and they didn't know before. Here, in less than a month, they were almost died. And the Republic had their life plus their ship. So, welcome to Venice. The second option was decapitated in San Marco Square. If you were not respecting the city, if you were not paying taxes, dying inside the prisons, or decapitated between the 2 columns in San Marco Square. That's why the Republic of Venice is known as La Serenissima Republic. La Serenissima means super happy, serene, of course super happy. Then I can tell you even, you could have a third option, let's say. The third option was, they were taking you to the Arsenal of Venice. And you had to row for 20 hours a day inside a galley for the Venetian Republic, the princess of the Adriatic Sea. So was even, I think, was better to be finished between the 2 columns. Now, I think we're gonna have even time for a quick secret, a quick mystery about Rialto, because before this bridge, this fantastic bridge that you see here in these paintings, built in 1592, that the actual bridge, the bridge we built before in the 1000 collapsed in 1310 during an insurrection of a crazy guy, Bagiamonte Tiepolo, but I will tell you the story in the next video. And then it collapsed again in 1444 during a wedding. Imagine, there was the procession and then the weight was too high, so the bridge collapsed. And finally they accepted the project of a stone bridge in 1592, the project of Antonio da Ponte. But there was a problem. There was a course against the bridge. Every night, at the end of the day, when they had already built a side of the bridge, by night the bridge was collapsing again, was falling. So a guy, Mr. Sebastian, the assistant of Antonio da Ponte, he decided to assist this event. So he decided to spend the night under the bridge. And at midnight, when it happened, he heard from behind him a laugh of a man. He turned, and the man was the devil, all dressed in black. The devil said to Sebastian, "Mr. Sebastian, in Venice, you can't build any bridge on the Grand Canal without paying a price for it." So Sebastian asked, which one was the price? And the devil said that the first soul crossing the bridge will be taken by me, will die. So when they finished Rialto Bridge, Sebastian sent a hen, and the hen crossed the bridge, but it didn't die. Sebastian tried to trick the devil. The devil dressed like a human. He visited Sebastian's house and he found his wife. He told to his wife, dressed like a human, that an accident happened on Rialto bridge. So she went straightly to the bridge. She crossed the bridge. She arrived at Sebastian's side, and she fell, and she died. The problem was the devil didn't take just one soul, because Sebastian's wife was pregnant, so even the little kid died. And that's why, if you pass under Rialto Bridge by night, with this amazing atmosphere, you can still hear the crying of the kid. You can do it by water taxi, you can do it rowing with me, or during my legend and mystery tours that you can find through Travel Curious Tours. Then, finally, 25 minutes passed, so we are in the most important part. I'm gonna tell you the mystery of the high tide of Venice. And then I'm available for any kind of question you have. Let me show you some pictures about the high tide. I would like to tell you so many stories because we have an amazing weather. I'm here in a terrace on the Grand Canal in my city. I can't imagine a better moment than this, but I know you want to make some questions. So first of all, the high tide. Here, the water always, every day, 6 hours it comes up and 6 hours it goes down. Hours up and 6 hours down every day. Then usually in some periods, October, November and February, March, it comes up more than the street level, so we have the high tide. But Venice is not built at the same level. Venice is more or less like this. So we have lower parts of the city, like here where we are. Rialto and San Marco, they are considered the lowest part of Venice. So here, when the water comes up, the water arrives like this. What do? We just dress our boots, sometimes still here, and we go walking. For us is normal life. But what does a shop or the hotel entrance does? Have a look. What does they do? Here at the entrance of the hotel, they used to put a steel barrier over here, you see, in these elements, so they can block the water. The water can't filter inside. Here we have an hotel, so they even have a big cistern inside, and in case they pump out the water. 80% of the buildings in Venice, 80% of the buildings, we still have the original floor. So the water comes from the canal and even through the floor. That's why we have a city alarm playing 2 hours before the tide. I need to wake up, me and my father, sometimes my uncle. We go to my grandma apartment in Murano Island, and we need to, she's living at the bottom floor, and we need to take up all the stuff she has at the bottom floor. The fridge, the washing machine, the sofa. Actually, we have kind of wooden blocks basement just to elevate the fridge, for example, and it's saved. But it's not easy. Of course, we can even make the cistern, but my grandma, she doesn't want to see anyone in her kitchen working for more than a week. So she said, Luca, when I will die, you do what you want. So the high tide is part of Venice. And the last one we experienced in November, that was the main news for more than a month all over the world. I had clients calling me, Luca, are you liking the Titanic for a month? I said, no, of course, because it was an exceptional high tide. It was the 12th of November, and the forecast was 1.40 meters. But it doesn't mean 1.40 meters from the street level, because Venice is already high, average 1.25 meters. As I told you, it has different levels. So San Marco Square, for example, of course you have seen so many pictures of San Marco Square floating, because it's the lowest part of Venice. We're talking about 80 centimeters compared to the average, that's 1.25 meters. So 1.40 meters means more or less like this. You see? Over here, like this. So the barrier is enough to protect the entrance, but that night, due to the wind, the Scirocco and the Bora, and due to crazy weather conditions, in 1 hour, the high tide increased 50 centimeters more than the forecast. So it reached the 1 meter and 90 centimeters. So it completely came above the barriers. My father, he was here at the hotel, he was trying to block, and then he told me, Luca, suddenly in a moment, it just came over. And yes, we were like in the Titanic. We lost computers, we lost fridges. A friend of mine, a mask maker, he lost about 600 masks because they are made in paper mache. So it's more than a year and a half of working. The high tide was a crazy problem for Venetians that day. But then the day after, the water was gone. Of course, for kind of entire week, we had the high tide. But the high tide is just for a couple of hours because it comes up and it goes down. So on the tourist side, on the client side, the high tide is just an attraction. Please do not cancel your reservation. Don't lose your money. Don't lose your money, really, because of the fake news all over the world. The high tide could be a problem only for Venetians. If you have a shop at the bottom floor, that's it, and it's just for 2 hours. If you're a tourist, you enjoy the high tide. The day after, the 12th of November, I did a walking tour at 9 a.m. A walking tour. Of course, there was no water. The water was on a high level at midnight. So at 6 was low. It started to decrease. That's why I want to say this. You need to come even during the high tide. You will be lucky to see Venice during the high tide, because after the 2 hours, then it will be normal like any day. So please, you need to support us even during this period, especially during this period. It's gonna be the most important occasion for you to see Venice from completely another perspective. So first of all, thank you so much for this half an hour. I will be super pleased to explain you many stories about my city. Even in the second video, you can even suggest me something if you are interested in. Now we're gonna have the Q&A part, but before the question, I would like to say thank you again to Travel Curious Tours that they gave me this opportunity. I'm quite young, I'm 25 years old, and to be a Travel Curious guide is a big honor. And I would like to tell to all of you clients to follow the hashtag Stay Curious, because you can see stories like mine all over the world. You can meet native of different places such as New York, Berlin. You can see virtually the Sistine Chapel from Georgia. So thank you, only thanks to Travel Curious. The second thing I would like to tell you is, if you digit staycurious.tours, you can even have the opportunities to send me a tip, but the tip that will be 100% for me. I would like to donate that tip to all the artisans, friends of mine that lost all their crafts during the high tide. So you need to know that sending me a tip, that tip will be a support for the Venetian artisans who lost all their masks, crafts and objects, all like a year and a half of working in just one day. Because Venice is like this. Venetians, we are a community, we are a family, and we need to help between us. So thank you again, even for any tip and any support you send us. Now, I'm completely at your disposal for any question. The last thing I would like to tell you is, any tip you send, even Travel Curious will deduct the tip from a future tour you will book with them. For example, if you're gonna book a tour of 100 euros and you send me a tip of 20, finally, Travel Curious will deduct the 20 euros, so you will pay the tour 8 euros. This is a way for them to say thank you. I'm at your disposal now for the question, and I will even like to show you a bit the city instead of face always. You see, the Grand Canal is quite empty, and it's amazing. Where to donate? You just digit Travel Curious .tours. Staycurious.tours. Staycurious.tours, you see, is fixed on the higher part of the screen. Staycurious.tours, and over there you can see my video, you can see Luca, and you can donate. The 100% of the money of the tip will go directly to the artisan. Is it true the canals have cleaned up? Yes, this is a very good question. Of course, we have less boats coming up and down from the canal, so some canals, they are a bit cleaner. They are not like the Caribbean islands, as you can see, so depends even on how deep are the canals. The Grand Canal is deep 7.5 meters average. We have canals that are 2 meters, 3 meters. Of course, Venetians, we grow up in the city. We grow up playing on the streets. We grow up with our small boats, so we need to know all the canals. But yes, let's say having less boats, some canals are a bit cleaner. We don't have any dolphin in Venice, as they can't unfortunately enter in our canals. They can arrive up to the beginning of the lagoon, where we have the Bocca di Porto, the famous mouth. And a couple of years ago they arrived in very close to San Marco Square, but just because sometimes they get lost, and that's it. Where is your favorite spot in Venice and why? This is the best question. Favorite spot is Punta della Dogana. Punta della Dogana, you can have a look for the Healthy Church. The Healthy Church is La Salute Church. It's a church we built in 1630, dedicated to the Virgin when the last plague of Venice was stopped. So why Punta della Dogana? Punta della Dogana, let me see if I can show you here on the map. Yes, have a look at this map. Punta della Dogana, you see the Dorsoduro district, the yellow district. On the right side, in front of San Marco, there is the last part of the district. On top, that point is Punta della Dogana. It's my favorite point because it's the most romantic point of Venice. At any time you go over there, even by day, you will live completely a different atmosphere. There you can really find the soul of Venice. And that's why in front over there, they were even organizing in the past, the Republic of Venice was organizing Lo Sposalizio del Mare, the wedding between Venice and her lagoon. So they were throwing in front of Punta della Dogana a ring that was the symbol of this wedding. That's why it's the most romantic point. I even organized a wedding proposal over there for some clients. It was a last minute and by night, and it came like a Hollywood movie. So if you're looking even for a wedding proposal, you know you have to contact me. In Venice, of course. For other questions, I'm always here. Ciao Gianmarco. Ciao Chiara. Ciao Karen. Let me see, it's hard to find all the questions. Yes, I have here another question is, are there dolphins in the canals or is that a rumor? Yes, unfortunately we don't have dolphins in Venice. We have clean water, cleaner than usually because we have less traffic. But as I told you, dolphins, they can't enter inside the lagoon. Yes, there are some beaches close to Venice. Mr. Yuri, he asked me, there's also some beaches close to Venice. Yes, we have Lido Island. Lido Island is not in the map, but it's a big littoral separating Venice from the sea. And there we have one of the most famous beach of Italy, let's say, where we even organized the famous film festival in September. Another question, yes, the Doge. The Doge was super popular. It was considered the king of Venice, but was not really the king. The Doge was mostly a representative figure of the Republic, because the real power was in our hands. The famous mayor council. It means thousands of nobles, Venetian families making the decisions and managing the city. But I would really like to introduce you the Doge figure in the next video in May, because in May we will even have the opportunity to go out, so I can take you to the most secret areas of Venice. My favorite place for the aperitivo is I'm doing a kind of marketing right now. Is La Porta d'Acqua. It's one of the most romantic restaurants on the Grand Canal nearby Rialto Bridge, where they are not where the main touristic restaurants are, but they are located 100 meters more ahead, and it's a very quiet place. You have a fantastic view of the palaces. The name is La Porta d'Acqua, and there is a great bartender. He will prepare for you a crazy Venetian aperitif, the Venetian spritz, made with Prosecco, Aperol and soda. And actually the word spritz and the drink spritz, I don't know if you know it, but it comes from the Austrian Empire, when the Austrian troops arrived here in Venice. Because Venetians, we were used to drink straightly without any water, without any soda. But when they came here, for them was too strong. That's why they were adding a bit of soda. But the verb for them when they add soda in their language is spritzen. That's why they named the drink spritz. It comes from the Austrian troops. Is it super expensive to buy an apartment there, or because if natural situation like flaws, not so much? Well, yes, Venice is kind of expensive, actually. I'm super lucky because my family is here since a long time. Long time. So I can still live in my grandma apartment. We are not a big family. We are just two brothers, and my brother moved to London, very luckily. So I can stay here. Now is kind of quite expensive. Yes, the ground floor is the less expensive because of the high tide. But I think after this period, you're gonna find a bit less prices. The houses business is a bit decreasing, so you can find even very good deals. Let's say, is Venice the most romantic city according to you? Of course. I know you have seen so many images of the city packed full of tourists, but that's not Venice. That's not our Venice. Venice is not only San Marco Square. In summer we have the huge cruise ships. They are good for us because they are business, but unfortunately they take tourists immediately to San Marco Square. And imagine 10,000 tourists arriving in San Marco Square. The management of the city has to be a bit different, because behind San Marco Square there is the real city, the authentic one, where Venetians are living, where you can discover the oldest crafts of the city, like the mask makers. Of course, they are not located behind the main landmarks. They are just 10 minutes away. In Venice you can walk everywhere. You can reach any part of the city simply walking, or even by boat or rowing. But I suggest you to walk. At least then you don't need to have to go to the gym, and you can have pasta for lunch and even for dinner. What's the perfect place in Venice for a wedding proposal? A friend from Venice, Alvise, would like to know that. That's so good. As I told you, the best place for the proposal is Punta della Dogana. I already organized a wedding proposal over there. That's a good suggestion, Mr. Giovanni, the Micheli family, because I know it's your family. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We still have the last 3 minutes for the last questions. Write the question right now so I can see. Non-gluten is full of restaurants gluten-free. Which one of my tours I recommend to have a truly Venetian experience? How can you book it? Of course, you can book all of my tours through Travel Curious, Stay Curious .tours. And my favorite tour is the Hidden Venice, or the Secret Venice, plus Cicchetti and Wine. This is a 3 hours experience touching the most authentic districts of the city, discovering the oldest crafts, living Venice from the Venetian perspective, and then during the walk we're gonna stop in the most authentic taverns, even to taste our culinary tradition, tasting the Cicchetti, the Venetian tapas, and drinking the small glasses of wines, the ombras. Ombra because the wine sellers in the past, they were staying in San Marco Square and they were selling the wine in the Noble Square. But to maintain the wine fresh before the fridges, they had to follow the shape of the bell tower. That's why the shade of the bell tower, the shadow of the bell tower in Venetian is ombra. What do you think about gentrification in Venice? That's a good question. I think we can talk about this in the second video, because in the second video we will even come other people. So for sure it will be one of the main topics of the next live, because it's something that we can talk for about 10 minutes. So how is the famous casino? So the casino here of Venice, the casino with the accent on the O, is the place for gambling, is the oldest casino, but casino without accent, paying attention because it means a courtesan house. And even about courtesans, we're gonna talk about courtesans in May, because in Venice, in the 1400, we had the highest level of courtesans here, 12,000 courtesans. The secret will be in the next video. So thank you so much for your attentions. I will try to answer all of your questions privately, so you can even write to Travel Curious in the chat, and I will be super pleased to answer all your questions. I hope you enjoyed my kind of virtual tour. I tried to do the maximum. Thanks to Travel Curious and to Mr. Boscolivano, he gave me this terrace instead of showing you my simple room. And to all Venetians, we have to be strong. Venice is our heart, so we will recover very soon. To all the clients that will come, I hope in the next future to Venice, try to support the local economy. Try to discover the old crafts. Try to visit the artisans making the mask, making the oars, the rowlocks, and try to help the community. So we can still live our dream, because living in Venice is a dream. Thank you so much, and a big hug and a big kiss to all of you. And I hope to do so many of these videos very soon. This is my first one. I even have a bit long hair, but see you next time. Ciao ciao, a big kiss and a big hug.